I was sitting on the couch in our home, ready for a glass of wine. I could hear my husband in the bedroom walking towards the front of the house. When he reached the front hall, I could see that he didn't have a coat on, nothing in his hands. I watched him walk out the door. I thought that maybe he was bringing the garbage cans to the curb or getting something out of the car. But in fact, he left. He was gone. It was Christmas Day. He didn't want to be married to me anymore, and he chose one hell of a way to let me know. After about a month of desperate and unanswered text calls and emails, I met with an attorney. When I sat down with her and shared the details, her very first question was, "Do you think he might have another life, another family somewhere else?" Ultimately, I had to hire private investigators to find him, to serve him divorce papers. I had called my parents in panic when he left, and even though they had just been here to celebrate the holidays with us, my mother flew back. In fact, my parents would take turns over that next year, flying out from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania to Seattle to stay with me, to support me. Ask yourself how many people you would do that for. Incredible. During that time, work was my refuge, a distraction, something I didn't have a choice about. It was a way to keep moving. Ironically, at the time, I worked for a CEO who was also a psychiatrist. And shortly after my husband left, we had an all-day leadership meeting, and my CEO thought it would be a good idea to kick off the day with a team-building vulnerability exercise. Yeah, because I'd be totally ready for that. Well, he's Asian, and he shared stories of being called racial slurs growing up. Another coworker shared that she was raised in a Christian fundamentalist family, and that as a child, her parents had told her that the rapture had already happened, and that she wasn't chosen. Wow. We were really doing this. It was getting closer to my turn, and my heart was racing. I was sweating. The room was spinning. I was having a full-blown panic attack. And when it got to my turn, I don't actually remember what I said, but I know I didn't say what was really going on in my life. Clearly, I was not ready to share. In those early days after he left, there was a movie reel that played in my head of all the good times. I could literally see the film strip roll torturing me with how much we loved each other. The places, the things, the connectedness, the love. He was my soulmate. Or at least one of us thought so. Then a new reel started, one equally as torturous. This one showed me all the signs that I had been blind to. Willingly, unwillingly, knowingly, unknowingly. I would spend a lot of money unpacking that in therapy. And then the reel stopped altogether, and I couldn't remember anything. My therapist said this was PTSD. I spent the rest of that year balancing work, this new legal battle, and trying not to fail my daughter. Physically, I felt like I was cut down. I could see my inner self, and it was this pathetic, anemic, overly pruned stem that was desperately trying to grow back. In fact, I kept waiting for myself to grow back. I wanted myself back. I wanted to feel confident, loved. I wanted to laugh. But I wasn't growing back. I was stuck. That image of the nub of my former self just permanently resting in my mind, taunting me. It will never be better. Twice Bitten. This was the name of the docu-reality series that I had written in detail in my head and imagined that the E! Network picked up and gave me a huge check for it. Because this was my second husband, and therefore my second divorce. And God, I love divorced people, especially those that have been divorced twice. And I just think there should be more binging opportunities for us on Netflix. Divorced people make me feel validated and not alone. The shame and humiliation that I felt by having a husband not only leave, but abandon me, in fact, disappear on me. It felt like a full-body implant of the scarlet letter. And this was juicy news, of course. Did you hear about Brooke? I was the 2-second talk of the town because at the end of the day, nobody really cares. I mean, how long does it take us to get through an issue of People magazine? Twice bitten. I was so humiliated. I will never grow back. Never in a million years would I have thought that I would become grateful for this experience. I kept myself away from the pain, and I stayed in hiding and humiliation. When we're in the middle of pain, it's hard to see our way out because there isn't one. It's only straight to and through the pain where new possibilities lie. But I had gotten pretty darn good at resisting. Bit of a world-class resistor over here. And then something shifted. I had needed a vacation. A brainless escape, no cooking, no cleaning, sun away from rainy Seattle. So my daughter and I booked a cruise. The route took us to Belize, Honduras, Cozumel, the Florida Keys, and through mountains of bacon and soft serve. And keep in mind that while I love being around water, I don't actually love being in it. You could say I have a fear of the water, and I'm sure there's some control issues there, but suffice it to say, you'll be hard-pressed to get me into a body of water. But for some reason on that day, when my daughter saw the glass-bottom boat and the snorkeling sign in Cozumel, she was thrilled, and I was all in on supporting her, and she and I were both shocked when I jumped right in. No hesitation, no fear. Things are really clear in retrospect. And in that moment, I let a layer go. The layer where I was keeping myself from pain, the layer where I was hiding, marinating in humiliation. It was a subtle but definite shift, like a baptism of sorts. It was the moment I stopped resisting. And it was the moment that I was maybe getting ready to start new. Well, when we got back from the trip, we had to move, and my option at the time was to rent. We found a house, and admittedly, it did not look great. But the street address, the numbers, they were my birthday, and I was, desperate for any sign of any kind at that time. I took it as one. And the house was as advertised. A lovely baby poop brown exterior with the paint hanging on for dear life, brown and green splotched walls in the living room worthy of G.I. Joe, and a charming chartreuse kitchen that only Mrs. Brady could love. And then there was the basement, more like medieval prison. Oh, but it got better. Deep in the bowels of the basement, there was a creepy hidden room with a door that had a porthole on it. Behind the door was a pirate bar? There was a huge wine barrel as a bistro table, a full bar, keg tap, treasure maps, pirate hats, and a gold plastic hook. The realtor told me that apparently the owner wanted to have the neighborhood speakeasy. Okay. So of course I took it. An unusable basement, but otherwise 2 bed, 1 bath, and 1,100 square feet of refuge, a new beginning, whether I was ready for it or not. When we moved in, I did what we all do, and I made the phone calls to turn on the utilities. And when the city delivered my garbage can, I was shocked at the size. It was a small 12-gallon black box. We used to have a huge 95-gallon can. How can the waste that I generate from my life fit into this small 12-gallon black box? Are you kidding me? This will never do. But calling the city and requesting a new one was one of 1,000 things I needed to do, and as a single working mom who's trying to grow back, this just wasn't the most pressing thing. So the box would stay. Every week I would visit that black box, and it didn't take me long to realize that it was enough. In fact, I started taking pride in how little waste my household generated, which evolved into a celebration of living in simplicity. A small footprint. My footprint. And that evolution continued as that little black box would become a symbol for me of living life how I wanted to live. My life waste partner. My life waste partner was enough. Maybe I was enough. I was so sad when the city recently replaced it with this new standard form, but everything transforms, everything grows. Even the garbage can had a vision beyond its own nub. In time, I would buy the house from the owner, and I remodeled every square inch. That prison basement, converted to a teenage retreat, a little bit more suitable for YouTube, homework, making out. That pirate bar, now more Pottery Barn teen than Captain Hook. New kitchen, new bathrooms, new floors, new plumbing, new wiring, new paint. Same bones, same shape, different look, feel, and unleashed spirit. In my new life, I started experiencing some surprises. I started feeling new parts of me that I hadn't felt before, newfound confidence and capabilities in work and life. I didn't need him. I didn't need him to help me navigate my career, the world of tech, healthcare, and the Silicon Valley. I didn't need him to help me with my new and bigger job. I didn't need him to help me prepare for a TED Talk. Maybe I'm not going to grow back. Maybe I'm just going to become something, someone different than what and who I thought. Maybe this whole experience scratched open parts of me that never got to develop but desperately wanted to. Maybe my previous life was in the way, blocking me from who I was meant to become. Thank God I stopped resisting. When we stop resisting is when transformation happens, so I've become grateful for the pain. No one more surprised than me at this revelation. I had thought he was taking out the garbage on that Christmas day, and in fact, I was right. He took out my garbage, which led me to my new garbage can and an opportunity to remodel my house, remodel myself. I was fortunate enough to be thrust onto a journey of self-transformation to see what I was made of. I was stronger than I thought. I went from desperately seeking my former self to being obsessed with chasing personal transformation, the garbage, the house. It all became a living, breathing metaphor with all roads leading to gratitude. There's no ending to this story as my personal evolution continues. There's no big event that rivals how it began. And I don't believe that I'm unique. It might be unique that you don't have husbands disappearing every day, but it's not unique that life brings challenges. We all struggle at times. Losing a job, financial crisis, a diagnosis, losing a pet, a parent, a child, war, a pandemic. Loss and grief, struggle and suffering, it's human. It's also human to resist the pain. We panic, we're anxious, we're depressed, self-medicate, hide, ignore, binge Netflix. There's a long list of ways to resist the pain, and I subscribed to all of them, but ultimately found that by surrendering to the pain was my path to transformation. My daughter painted this. When she brought it home from school, I asked her what it meant. She said, "This is about us, Mom. On this side, this is our old life. It had the illusion of being sparkly and pretty, represented by gem tones. In the middle is where he left, and he shattered our lives, and we didn't know which way to turn. On this side, this is our new life, living in truth, in harmony with the earth, represented by earth tones, walking toward the sun, happy." Those are direct quotes, by the way. She's kind of an emotionally intelligent kid, and she had me in a puddle of tears with this painting. This is a story about what happens after the resistance, when we let go. Gratitude. Gratitude for garbage cans and pirate bars, remodels and therapists, parents and daughters. Grateful for it all. This is my story, and every day it begins.